They don't want you asking questions. You just have to shut up and do whatever they say. I have problems with this, not just as an American, but as someone who I'm not opposed to the vaccine. And I think that it's a stupid, lazy, anti-intellectual argument to suggest otherwise, to suggest that legitimate concerns that have not been publicly addressed. And you can sit here and say all you want to, that these questions have been answered. But if they've been answered, then pray tell me, precious, why are they now commissioning a study only a year after all this stuff has been rolled out? Why are they only now commissioning a study to look at thousands of reports that women have experienced this as it relates to reproductive health and COVID vaccines? Why then? Do you have the answers? Do all of these people out there who are trying to berate the unvaccinated and people who are legitimately concerned about these issues because maybe they have business that they don't think is any of your business? And where do these people get off? Here's the difference right here between the real limited government people and the posers. If you believe that someone has a right to not be willfully injected, and I don't care if they're hesitant or not, you don't have the right to demand that someone else inject their body with a solution. No more than I have the right to tell you that you have to purchase a firearm and ammo and keep it. The fact that this, and all of the women are pretty irate in this, and these studies, and they've been saying, the fact that this is not even being discussed, that it's not even being looked at, is it because it's a woman's issue? I mean, really, is it? I mean, I'm just curious. Is it because that the, and I'm speculating here, and this is what people do in absence of information, blame the government. But is it because the people who are most at risk are elderly and probably pretty much past having a menstrual cycle? So we're just going to go ahead and ignore everyone else's. See, this is the kind of stuff I say. It's discrimination based on age, which is exactly how I view abortion too. It's the same mentality. In fact, so NICHD director Diana Bianchi had said in a statement, our goal is to provide, and of course she said menstruating people, do not expect me to take you seriously as a medical professional or in the scientific community when you use idiotic Orwellian phrases like menstruating people. People don't menstruate. Women do. If you have an issue with my phrasing, you can write to kiss@myadoublesnakes.com. They said that they think that was a big issue. Nobody expected it to affect the menstrual system because the information wasn't being collected in the early vaccine studies. That's NICHD. They said that there was let me pull this up. There was one entity that had reported on it in early on. Let me pull this story up. This was like back. Goodness, it's a women's website called The Lily. It's been around for a bit. I'm just not a big reader of it. But back in April, they collected these. They interviewed a bunch of women who were having these issues, and so they were writing about this. They brought it up to NIH. And so NIH, that was one of the reasons why NIH decided to look into it further. And apparently they found some stuff. So the NIH suggests that changes could arise. At first they're like, well, maybe it's because people are stressed out by the pandemic. Shut up. Seriously? Yes, your immune system and reproductive systems are linked. But they said that the vaccine, the immune boosting vaccine, the fact that there could be a relationship between that, like a disruption between the typical cycle, is plausible. And there are previous studies, and I'm pulling this up for you. There are a few previous studies that actually allude to this. So the National Library of Medicine they've done a study on this as well and looked at, when they looked at vaccine updates, so they were looking at HPV. And so apparently in previous similar, and I want to be cautious because the results were a little different. Apparently, the effects and the symptoms or the changes that women noted after the HPV vaccine, and this is something that the Lilly and also New York Post had touched on, were a little bit different from that of the COVID vaccine. But they were saying that there have been some studies that show that it can actually have that effect. And this first one was done back in July 2020 when they were looking at HPV and whether or not any kind of vaccine related to that alters or changes or how it affects reproductive health or your menstrual cycle. So So the NIH is saying we want to study it. CDC wants to study it, and they want to, and they're apparently going to try to fast track this. What gets me is that they weren't reporting this in the beginning in the first place. I mean, I'm kind of amazed by this. So if this is affecting, I mean, I just would like to see, yes, okay, anything that any negative effect with reproductive health, it would be a rare. Would be a side effect that's very rare. That's fine, but just like inform us, because if you don't inform us, we will speculate, and because we already don't trust the government. Do not allow us to form an opinion. Don't trust us to form a good opinion about the government where no information exists, because the government does not have a great track record right now or ever. They don't have any kind of great track record at all whatsoever as it concerns medicinal testing. Tuskegee is a great example of that. Agent Orange is a great example of that. I mean, I could sit here and cite numerous things. This is one of the reasons why the black community, for instance, was so justifiably, thank you, distrustful of the government when they were talking about this. You can't sit here and burn people for generations and then turn around and get all ticked off because they don't trust you. Why the hell should they? So I know that there's a study going on right now. They were looking at this is something that's because going on with their one of their phases of testing for pregnant women and the vaccine. So, because the CDC had recommended that, etc. Again, this is where it comes down to. You need to be able to make a decision that you are comfortable with, and you need to be comfortable with other people making a decision that they are comfortable with. But I'm going to tell you what, don't sit here and be like, everything has been answered. All the questions have been answered. Don't downplay someone else's genuine health concern and pretend to be compassionate about it while disregarding compassion and berating them for not choosing your choice. I get really mad about this.